this lesson, we looked at making statistical calculations like mean and median and standard deviation, starting with grouped data. So data displayed in groups, like on a histogram, for example. So this group right here between 30 and 36, there were 210 values. So the first question just says, what is the total number of sales represented by this histogram? And you can just add up the bars, and you'll find out there's 381. When it says show your work, obviously all you're doing is adding up numbers, but in any question, it's always important to communicate your understanding. So even if all you're doing is adding two numbers, you always want to show your work. All right, next, the mean. To find the mean, we would add up all the numbers, so whatever they are, and then we would divide by 381. So the trick is to try to figure out, okay, what would my numbers be? So I would have 210 numbers in this first bar, and they're between 30 and 36. So I could use the midpoint of this bar, which is 33, and add those up. So I do 33 plus 210 times. Now clearly, I could just do 33 times 210, and so on. Then I would add the next midpoint between 36 and 42 would be 39, and I have 111 of those, and keep that process going. So that's how you'll find the mean. The median, if you take 381 divided by 2, you'll get 190.5, which implies that the middle value would be the 191st number. That doesn't mean the median is 191. That means I'm looking for, from the start to the finish, I'm looking for the 191st number. So that causes me to realize that the 191st number is inside this bar. So again, so this is between 30 and 36. The trick then is to say, well, what is the median? So our best guess, the value that represents that bar is 33. We estimate the median to be 33. Okay, the mean being higher than the median, the idea here has to do with the shape. When data is symmetric, the mean and the median line up. And when data is skewed, the mean follows the skew. So the mean is going to get pulled to the right more than the median. So the mean is going to be larger than the median. So you want to talk about the shape. And finally, the variance. To calculate the variance, what you'll end up doing is you'll take the mean, you'll subtract the mean from every value. So our first bar has 210 numbers in it, and we're going to say that's represented by the number 33. So I take 33 minus the mean, which happened to be 37.13 rounded, and we square those deviations, and we add them all up. So I have 210 of them. So I'm going to add up all 210 of those just by multiplying that one value by 210. And then I'm going to take the next value, which was 39, the midpoint of the next bar, minus the mean again, and multiply that by 111 and plus ... And you take all of that divided by 380. Remember, it's the sample size minus 1. And that'll get you the variance. And then you square it to get the standard deviation. So that's kind of the skill in this lesson, is using the group data. Now the practical side is I showed you how to use the calculator. Instead of doing all these calculations by hand, you can go to the list editor by going to Stat and then Edit. And you can type the midpoints into list 1. And the frequencies are going to go in list 2. There's 210 33s and so on. All right, so if I go to Stat and then Calc and then one variable stats, the first one, if I just run it as default, it gives me this screen. It thinks I have 6 numbers, which clearly isn't right. I have 381 numbers, and the mean being 48 doesn't make any sense. So let's think again. If I go back to Stat, Calc, there is 2 variable stats, but this histogram really is one data set with 381 numbers in it. So I'm going to run one variable stats, and then this frequency list shows up. So normally it's supposed to be blank, but this time I actually do have a frequency list. It was list 2. So I do second and then 2, because that button has L2 on it. And I go down to calculate. And now when I run it, it tells me I have 381 numbers. It tells me the mean. It tells me the standard deviation. It doesn't tell me the variance, but the symbol for variance is just s squared. So I want to square this number. So the other thing I showed you in class was how to find this number without writing it all down. Everything you ever do is stored as a variable. So I can hit vars, and then I can go find it. It's under statistics. So you can just hit 5, or you can go down to statistics. And there is the standard deviation in this menu, S. So I can grab that, and I could square it, and that will be the variance. And so that's a great way to use technology, is to use the list editor and then run one variable stats using a frequency list. So grouped data just simply gives me the frequencies of each occurrence.